resources, and all these entities and processes and resources involved in production, sourcing, distribution, operations, but on an international scale. We will have within this network suppliers, manufacturers, logistics providers, retailers, small shops at the corner, customers. But now we are talking about a scale across different countries and different regions. And the modern business landscape right now heavily relies on global supply chain. And it's not only for the think of oil, gas, energy, natural resources, minerals. And this global supply chain is trying to be very, very efficient to meet the customer demands, access specialized resources, capitalize on cost advantages. Remember, I always emphasize on the total cost of the supply chain. So we are trying to find a global scale. So this interconnectedness also create some challenges, some risks. For example, geopolitical risks when there is war at one link in this chain, natural disasters, transportation disruptions, even the customers. Now the customers are changing their preferences very, very frequent. So there are these complexities that we need to successfully navigate. So we need to have robust strategies, technological advantages, collaboration, and of course, add sustainability and resilience. So these are all factors that we need to think about when we are thinking global supply chain. Okay, yes. So why do we need this globalization, supply chain globalization? If we are doing this, it seems that there is a benefit. What do you think? Some of the benefits of this supply chain globalization?
Increasing profitability.
Okay, more profits. Where the profits will come?
Because when I am increasing my production, I reducing my cost
Okay,
and
so
opening new
yes,
market,
so
competing.
scale, economy of scale. You said new markets, yes.
Yes. Get access to areas that cannot be accessed because I will be the only supplies that supplies them because I have huge amount of supplies.
Mhm. Which country comes to your mind when you hear global supply chain?
China.
Yes, yes. So what's the advantages that China offered that made supply chain global?
Cheap supply, uh, um quality. They have different qualities, different variation. If you need low quality, you will find. If you need very high quality, you will find.
Definitely,
And
yes.
unlimited supply
Unlimited supply of what?
of what they offer. Example, I will talk about the raw materials in
So they they
medicine.
they they are very, very efficient. Yeah. So they are efficient, so they can scale the production easily.
Exactly, exactly.
Hmm.
And
And
another
one,
country, and the
mm,
second after it is India. At
Yes,
least I am talking about raw materials for pharmaceutical industries.
yes,
China and India contribute 80% or 85% of the raw materials.
yes, yes, yes. And also there is another advantages, the labor cost. The labor cost is very, very low compared to other countries. So there are several reasons or rationale why we are doing this globalization. And of course, it's mostly seizing opportunities to increase revenue, as you said, outpace competitors, gain access to markets or new markets that may have been otherwise restricted. So, venturing into new territories, adapting to local markets. So, businesses can reap the rewards of well executed global expansion strategy. That's why I told you we will talk business strategic planning. But it's also essential for the businesses to conduct a thorough market research. Also understand the differences in culture, and be prepared to navigate new types of challenges that's inherent in international operations. That's why you will find that there are disciplines focusing on international businesses, focusing on international marketing, international operations, because now we are talking totally a different scale. And also because of the competition, so we want to expand beyond the competitors, so the companies can get other competitive advantages by entering markets other competitors don't have strong presence. Um, so and also sometimes there are uh, restricted material, restricted resources in other countries. You will not be able to have access to these resources unless you have a global supply chain, unless you have representation in this market. That's why, for example, China, now they have companies all over the world. Here in Canada, we had so much debate and frustration that Chinese investments in Canada are huge. And now, or a few years ago, they had an aggressive strategy to buy Canadian companies. The same thing happens in Germany, for example, and vice versa. There are some German companies who want to Indian market to have access to the natural resources from the Indian market. They source gold, they source a cotton, they source linen for sustainable fashion. Uh, but this globalization brings, challenges like trade barriers, tariffs. So yes, we have of course some treaties to support um, trade between countries. We here in North America we have a treaty that supports trade between Mexico, the U.S. And Canada. But still, there are some barriers. A few years ago, I started a company, and we were doing subscription boxes. It's the same idea like HelloFresh, but it was geared towards women at certain age, and every month they will get a box that her health, wealth, education, and all of this. And I had to close it. Although we were, successful when it comes to the number of the customers, but the customs, the tariffs were eating our profit. So it, you know, um, here comes that the scaling issue. We couldn't scale it up because of these costs. Some other reasons. Think of some other reasons. Production facilities. For example, here in Canada, we have a law called the Green Belt Law. So we have massive areas of forests that by law um, uh, we cannot build on. So although we have a vast, vast country and vast lands, the space to build new factories or new buildings is very, very limited. Some other countries, no. That's why, again, back to China, China buys massive amount of land in Africa. So, and we will see the results later. Also, there are opportunities related to taxation. So many countries provide tax benefits that will reduce the tax liability, so we can optimize our costs in this area when it comes to tax and tax regulations. And of course, this can give us increase in the profits because we are decreasing the expenses on tax. Um, um,
Professor,
Also,
also energy,
yeah,
energy cost. Some,
yes, yes. Do you have an example in mind?
yes, I have here actually
Mm,
in Saudi Arabia. Our energy cost is less than other countries. In Europe, is very high,
mm,
and in
mm,
China, the cost for energy is very low also.
mm, yes, yes. So
I can give
mm,
example. I can give example for the grain. You know the cement factories. All Europe forbidden the cement factory at their countries. So most
mm,
of the cement is coming from Egypt and Algeria. So
mm,
they buy all cement factories in Egypt and Algeria, mainly in
mm,
Africa, because we don't have the same regulations as Europe.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. In Egypt, I have a friend who told me that the industry of marble and marble slabs and marble tiles. So actually, they bring the marble stone, big stones from Europe, from Italy or from Spain, and it is processed in Egypt. And why that? Because the environment protection regulations is not severe in Egypt compared to Europe, because these factories, these industries are heavily um, uh, um, polluting the environment. So you will find so many advantages. So now when when you think of the company that assigned to you, uh, do your research and see. Most of these companies, by the way, have some sort of a global supply chain. Not necessarily in all continents, but maybe in North America. Or maybe they have presence in Asia or China, or they have access to the Chinese market or something like this. So think of this when you are doing your research. And think of the advantages that this company will have uh, when when um, uh, when having this global supply chain. So so this is the $10,000 slide of today's class. This matrix. So there are different strategies that companies apply when it comes to their supply chain. And there are two dimensions here. Uh, Local responsiveness and global integration. How easy and quickly that we can respond to local markets, and how easy we can integrate all the partners within the supply chain. And each company and almost now each industry have their balance, balance the need for adapting to a local market uh, conditions while achieving global efficiency. Why we do this integration in our supply chain? Because we want to increase the efficiency. So we have four strategies here. The first one is global standardization strategy. In this strategy, we have low local responsiveness, but high global integration. Um, so in this approach, the company focuses on achieving economies of scale, high production rate, high sales rate. And how we do this? By standardizing the product. So we have universal design of the product. And not only this, we have universal design of our processes and even marketing strategies. So the emphasis here is on centralizing decision making, reducing costs by applying this uniformity. Standardization means uniformity. And this strategy is effective when there are strong global trends and the customer preferences in different markets are relatively similar. So is there a company comes to your mind when we talk about this? We will talk about these strategies more in depth in the coming slides. But from my description, if there a company comes to your mind, think when you are traveling from country to country, think of a product that you use in two different countries and the product is the same. Hotel chains. Okay, yes, please tell us more.
Yes, I consider that hotel chains they work internationally. They have the same global strategy. For instance, Hilton or Hyatt, and they also have international strategy and plus multi-domestic. For instance, they purchase local products.
Mhm.
However, they have the whole one strategy. Sometimes, for instance, pre-opening or opening campaign, some
Mhm.
hotels are using the same suppliers. Like I have experience in one chain, Accor Hotels. It's European, and we had to purchase only AV equipment only from France because some specific security procedures. However, as for the strategy for F&B, we purchased only local food and local producers and farmers. We had separate strategies, so I consider that's relevant.
Okay. We have another strategy called the transactional strategy. It's high global integration, but also high local responsiveness. In this strategy, we try to achieve a balance between the global integration and the local responsiveness. Do you think that maybe the big hotel chains comes under this strategy? Because in the global standardization, we have low local responsiveness.
In this case, perhaps yes, maybe it's
Yeah,
transnational.
yeah, because in this strategy, the transactional, sorry, the transitional, so the transnational, the transnational strategy, it has both. Both sides are high. So we have certain elements of the operations are standardized for efficiency, for training purposes, for the brand image, and of course for flexibilities. But also they are high in accommodating local market variations. And actually this is not easy. It requires, a strong operations management and coordination and communication between the headquarters and the subsidiary hotels. So we have high global efficiency, but at the same time we have high local adaptation. So a few years ago, we had a trip and we went through Canada and the States in 25 days. We visited 18 different cities. And of course, we visited almost, the hotels, sorry, that we used were all Holiday Inn. So the tourist company, they booked Holiday Inn for in almost the 18 city, except few. These were very, very remote and they didn't have, or maybe they had international chains, but the company did not book this. And every time we are in Holiday Inn, we have the same logo, we have the same branding, but we even as a family were talking about this. Every hotel had its different feel, even the foods. Yeah, there were of course the same foods, but every hotel has something different in the way of presenting food, foods, different foods that were done. And also we can see that not necessarily because these two chains are hotels, they will follow the same strategy. So maybe in your case, Hilton follows the global standardization strategy. High global integration, low responsiveness, local responsiveness. Another chain might have a transnational strategy. They are high in both. But the first one, actually, the example that comes to my mind is Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola, if you go to any market, you will find that you have the same bottle the same shape, the same branding, and the same taste inside, this liquid. Um, it has some variations when it comes to its marketing, but it's the same strategy. So you will see the ads of Coca-Cola. They always hire celebrities, so they choose a local celebrity. So, for example, in the Middle East, they hire Amr Diab. A few years ago, they hired him. So he's a very popular singer. But here in North America, they example. But it's the same feeling, you get the same feelings watching the ads. These are happy, focusing on the lovely moments that we spend together, how Coca-Cola is our drink when we are celebrating success, when we are having fun on the beach or something like this. But as a product, it's the same. Another strategy is localization strategy. So here, in this case, we have high local responsiveness and low global integration. So we adapt the products and the services and the marketing efforts specifically for a local market. And these companies prioritize responsiveness to local customer demands, and to tailor the offerings accordingly. Um, and this approach is beneficial when the customer preferences and the culture differences vary significantly between countries, or the business has no global presence. Any company comes to your mind? Not necessarily we know it, but something that you have experienced. It's very localized company. You have no local companies. Oh my God, that's scary. Actually, that's scary because most of the local companies are small businesses, and actually, this global supply chain is eating up local businesses and small businesses. Most of the time, these local specific product, many of them either they gear towards the local population, or they gear towards tourists. For example, in Egypt, some handmade products, if regular Egyptian people go to buy these things, they are so expensive. So certain industries are not even geared towards the population, the citizens. It's almost 90% geared towards the tourists. Yeah. The last strategy is international strategy. So here we have uh, uh, low global integration and low local responsiveness. The word international strategy might confuse you if you compare it with global standardization, but no, there is a huge difference here, and understanding the difference will help you when you are doing your assignment, and also in the exam you might have a tricky question. So in the international strategy, the company focused on operating independently in each market. So they don't do anything to integrate operations globally, all to respond to local market variations. And this approach, usually you will see it adopted by small to medium size businesses that has limited resources, or company that's it's so difficult to adapt their offerings to diverse markets. So they might go to a different market, but the operations in this market is totally independent uh, um, uh, from the operations in another market. So we will talk about these differences, and we might think of other examples.
Professor, I have example, and I don't know if it's global or international.
Okay,
I was working at a company called Tabuk.
okay.
She's a Saudi company. It's Saudi company. We have a product called cefalexin. It's
Mm-hmm,
an old generation of antibiotics, first generation cephalosporins anyway. So here in Middle East, we are following the American guidelines. Okay, so
mm-hmm,
we do not prescribe anymore first generation. It's called Velocef, if anyone know it. But in Algeria, they are following the France guidelines. So they prescribe the first generations very much. The conclusion, we were producing just for Algeria 2.5 million bottle of this drug, while in Saudi Arabia it was only 50K.
mm-hmm.
Is it global or international? Because we were making different strategies there.
Okay, so let's see. When in terms of local responsiveness and global integration, for this specific product, is there any type of global integration?
No, it's except for Algeria. It was only Algeria that was taking that such quantity.
And it's local responsiveness. But where is the operation is
Saudi Arabia.
are done?
Saudi Arabia, we produce here and we export to them.
So I think it might be um, uh, uh, transnational. I
But
think it might be transnational. I'll tell you why. Because we have global integration or high global integration when it comes to operations, sourcing raw material, but you are responding to a local market requirements.
yes, but it's not produced in that local market.
Yes, but it's sold in that market.
Yes.
I'm thinking out loud with you. I think it has an element of high global integration because of the sourcing the raw material and even the research. It's all done outside this market. So there is some sort of global integration.
Yes. But it does not have a high local response.
High local response, it means that there is a specific market
Okay.
that requires this adaptation. Even if there's one market, if you produce large quantity of this product and you sell it in a specific market, I think this shows high local responsiveness.
Okay. So local here, it's not the place of manufacturing.
Yes, that's
Local
why we
here.
have global integration.
Okay.
So for this medicine, you will find that okay, there are like 20 different ingredients. Each ingredient comes from a country. The research is done in another country. The manufacturing and packaging is done in another country, but the medicine is sold in a specific market. So we have here high global integration in the production, but also we still have high local responsiveness because we have only one country that that has it. So eh, we and this country takes the majority of the production, or maybe almost 100% of the production. So it could be transnational strategy as well. So for the no international strategy. Okay, where is the slide for this one? Here. For the low or the no international strategy, what do we have here? We have low local responsiveness and we have low global integration in the supply chain. So what are the advantages and the disadvantages of something like this? What do you think? Sometimes we call it domestic strategy. It's not no international strategy. So the business approach where the company primarily focus on serving local market. Think of a corner store or a corner restaurant that sells ethnic food to the local population. So this small business doesn't actively pursue expansion of its operations into any international market. So in this strategy, the company's operations, products, services, everything is tailored exactly to meet the needs of its domestic customers. So some of the factors and consideration in this type, we have a local market focus, of course. So the company concentrate its resources, its efforts on just serving the needs of this local market. And this could be due to several. I'm a very small business. I'm a shop at the corner. I cannot expand even to the next neighborhood. Lack of expertise. I'm just, a cook who can cook ethnic food. Usually also there is some strong demand in the domestic market. So I can easily produce my products and sell it 100% in my domestic market. And this requires minimum coordination efforts because the company is not engaged, or the business is not engaged in any international operations. So no need for expansion, no need for extensive coordination across different countries, regions. And the decision-making processes are so simple because it's, relatively streamlined, centralized. It's me and my shop. And we have a small number of managers or executive managers. Could be the owner of the shop and just the people who are working, in this local restaurant or local bakery. So it's only a local market focus. All the decisions, important or not important, related to the product, the design of the product, the marketing, It's all made by one or very, very small group of people. Usually, the decision makers have a deep understanding of the local market dynamics. The Some of the advantages, it's a focused expertise. If I'm working with this ethnic food all my life, I know the ins and outs of producing this product. I have deep understanding of the customer preferences. I know my customers. I know the culture. I know the regulations around this product. The operations are not complex. Usually, these are simple operations, of course, compared to other products and businesses. The number of the operations and processes, usually it's very small. Even the legal frameworks, there is no currency fluctuations. We are using the local currency, buying ingredients and doing and making the product and so on. But there are some disadvantages. The growth of business. You will find that this small shop remains a small shop. Um, eh, there are no globally based customers. No one will order this product from outside. That's why you will find some of these businesses are geared towards tourists, because it's something nice to have on a trip. And of course, they don't scale the business. They don't scale the business. Okay, what do we have here? The multi-domestic risks. The other one is multi-domestic. So in this strategy, we have high local responsiveness, but low global integration. So what's the difference between this and the previous one, the no international strategy? What's the difference? The main difference is that we have different markets. We don't have only one market. In the no international strategy, it means that we have only one market. We produce the products, we provide the services in one market. But here in multi-domestic, we have several countries or several regions that we are serving. So we still have the local market focus. And still the business place high emphasis on understanding the unique demands of each local market. And there are customer preferences and differences between these local markets. And even the regulatory environments can also vary between country to country or market to market. However, we have minimum coordination effort. So the decision making is decentralized. Each individual market, executives in this market, they take the decision in this market. So we have these branches or local subsidiaries, and they have autonomy in determining their strategies and operations. So think of an IT company, for example, in the Middle East, but they have representation in different countries. So, for example, in Morocco, their branch will be, the language will be in French. They might have certain localization efforts different than, for example, the same company working in Saudi Arabia. So maybe, or in Kuwait. In Kuwait, we had a policy of Kuwaitization. So all the decision-making uh, um, positions should be held by Kuwaiti nationals, for example. So again, it's very decentralized when it comes to decision making. And this allows the company to focus on these specific markets. And you will find that this branch in this country has high potential growth compared to another branch, because again, the decision making is different. uh, each company or each branch has access to different type of resources. So some of the advantages is that we have localized offerings. Products are tailored specifically for this market. Uh, uh, the company or this branch, let's say branch in this market, they have deep understanding of the regulatory environment. So that's why they have specific strategies to deal and to comply with the local laws and regulations. They are high in responding to local demands, because the decision making is localized. So we can respond quickly. But again, we have issues when it comes to scaling up. Um, because we have some duplicate efforts. This branch is doing the same thing as this branch, and they are not benefiting from the knowledge. We cannot benefit from any standardized processes. And if we have customers beyond this market, we cannot respond to them. So let's see the global. Let's remember the global strategy. It's low local responsiveness and high global integration. The company that comes to my mind is IKEA. IKEA is global, you know. Um, so of course we have economies of scale. The products are standardized, the processes are standardized, so we can scale up the processes and the operations. We can buy resources and raw materials and raw components in bulk. Uh, we are producing and distributing standardized products, but at large quantities. And this, of course, will make the process cheaper than producing different products tailored to uh, 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 the needs of individual markets. Of course, we have uniform brand image. You know, you will go everywhere. You will find the design of the IKEA store the same. And many companies right now, they are aiming to have this. They are moving slowly to this. That's why some local markets are resisting this. Um, you will find that the complexity is reduced, because again we have standardized product, we have standardized processes, or even the marketing strategies are the same. So it simplifies the supply chain. It simplifies the overall management efforts of the production. It increases the efficiency. Usually standardization supported decision making, centralized decision making processes. Standardization also supports streamlining the operations. Anyone who worked in a Coca-Cola factory can go to another country and work in the Coca-Cola factory in another country, because the products are similar, the operations are similar, the terminology that we are using is similar. But sometimes we miss on some local responsiveness issues. You know, maybe we have a product and the locals don't like this taste. So now we don't generate any revenue from this product in this country. If we have a competition and the competition are, you know, doing a good job in responding to local markets, they will get a strategic advantage over us. Some of the company that use this, as I told you, Coca-Cola, Apple, old McDonald's. Many years, the McDonald's adapted this strategy. No localization, but step by step, they started to localize some of the menu items. For example, yes, they have core products. I don't eat McDonald's in every country, but I know, because I'm aware of the staples of its menu, that if I go to this country or these countries, I can eat the fish, for example. But if I go to Turkey or any Middle East, the beef or the chicken products. But again, when McDonald's started, it started like this. It's all standardized. Later, it started to add some localized. So you will find, for example, some salads in South America, that are not available in other countries, because they are using ingredients famous and preferred by the locals. We will talk about the last one, and we will have a break. Okay. So the last one is transnational. So here we have some benefits or some advantages where we can have efficient resource utilization. I can optimize resource allocation by leveraging global synergies, but at the same time, I am maintaining my local adaptability and responsiveness. Also, this can help with the learning and innovation, because all the branches, they can share the learning, and the learning is transferred. You know, when we say learning, best practices, you know, different ways to do the work efficiently. But on the disadvantages side, it requires huge coordination and integration requirements, because right now you are managing different national centers at the same time. So it needs high level of coordination and integration. And we have different functions, resources. And this might reduce the responsiveness a little bit when it comes to market uniqueness, because a huge part of the operations are the same and standardized. So yes, we are responsive more than other strategies, but with huge effort to be responsive. Um, some complexity when it comes to organizational change. Again, because we have this massive scale, so there are significant organizational changes, and managing the balance between the global and local priorities. Cultural and regulatory challenges, because again, every branch has to respond to the local regulatory environment. Some of the examples that came to my mind, but again, it might require um, some digging. Unilever. So it's a multinational consumer goods. They produce wide range of products, everything, food, uh, beverages, cleaning supplies, personal care products. So again, they have the transnational strategy. They have global integration, but at the same time, they are highly in responding to unique requirements in each market. So they have a global product portfolio. So they have, for example, Lipton, Knorr, Dove. Uh, what else? Yeah, these are the product that comes to my mind. So if you go to these different countries, you will find that there are specific, these are all available. Zest, for example. But you will find that the different flavors in different markets, because the local market loves this more than the other flavor. So we have efficient resource utilization, of course. We benefit from the global learning and innovation. But again, the coordination is too complex. The market uniqueness and the differences between markets. And this adds layers of complexity. So any question before we go into our break?
Yes, Professor.
Yes.
Yes, can we consider a company global even it's operate only to two countries?
Yes, I think as long as it's multiple regions or countries, it could be global.
Okay.
Yeah, we can consider it global. If they get resources from, that's why I'm saying so many businesses are global right now, or have this global element right now. That's why it's very important that we study this and we understand the dynamics in a global market. Yes. Okay, so we will have a 10 minutes break and then we will come to continue. So we will be back at 10:12. Okay? Okay, welcome back. Welcome, welcome. Okay, so what we will do now is I will divide you in two groups. One will work on HelloFresh, and one will work on uh, what was the other one? Full Circle. Yes, Full Circle. Okay, and I want you to choose the best strategy for taking into consideration the um, uh, uh, the resources available, and um, you know some strategies for growth, how the supply chain strategy will support the company's growth, and have some discussions of why you chose this strategy, what are the benefits, the advantages and disadvantages. And I will give you, you always say, I don't give you enough time. Yes, I don't give you enough time. You're supposed to think quickly. Okay, I'll give you 12 minutes and then we will regroup, okay? So group number one will work on HelloFresh. Group number two will work on Full Circle. Okay, almost everyone rejoined. Perfect. Okay. So how was your discussion?
For which group?
For which group? Your
Yes.
group.
Paulina will represent us as group one. So
Okay.
she will represent us now because also she has to leave for another for another something that she has to leave. So she will represent group one discussion.
Okay, perfect.
Thank
Perfect.
you, Mohammed.
Would
Um,
would you like to share your screen or you are okay?
I will try to explain it because due to discussion, we just discussed it. So we are the group number one, HelloFresh. It's a meal kit delivery service company. And according to its strategy and benefits of advantages of the strategy, we understand that they have market diversification advantage because expanding internationally allows them to reach new markets, and by that also revenue growth.
Mhm.
Economy of scale, because by operating in multiple companies, they can achieve through centralized and distribution, and leading to cost saving.
Okay, so what's the strategy? Sorry, remind me with which strategy, which quadrant?
Um, Most probably it should be sorry, it should be a transnational strategy because
Transnational.
they
Yeah.
yes, because
Mm-hmm.
they're using like global strategy plus local like mixture.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, according to disadvantages, it can be some complexity of supply chain
Mm-hmm.
because sourcing ingredients and coordinating logistics across borders can be with delays or like disruptions. So it's like first point.
Mm-hmm.
Operational challenges maybe also because like new markets can require like local infrastructure, and maybe it's related also one some sort of cultural local like are either political instability, which can also affect on their like market as well.
Mm-hmm. 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 I do agree that it's a transnational strategy. The company itself is a German company, but they expanded to Europe and North America. Uh, uh, the menu items are somehow there are some differences, but the branding itself and the main operations are standardized. So they have high local responsiveness, although we can also say because the markets they are working in has very, very similar preferences, they might also have a global strategy. Because, for example, North America, the menus between Canada and America, for example, they are almost the same. Also with Europe, there are so many same items. However, why I'm leaning towards transnational? Because they source some ingredients locally. So that's why I'm leaning towards transnational. So they might have procurement strategies that are different. Maybe the menu items are the same, but remember, we are talking about the whole supply chain. So a huge part of the supply chain exists in the local market. So anyone wants have a question or wants to add anything when it comes to HelloFresh? Okay, now we can move to full circle. Yes.
Do anyone need to present? Ahmed is the best.
Go ahead.
Okay. We have two opinions regarding the strategy.
Mm-hmm.
We have it's domestic, mainly domestic, not globally. So it's mainly international strategy.
Mm-hmm.
This is the first opinion. The second opinion was global strategy. We can go
Mm-hmm.
globalization, but mainly they are just focusing on the domestic with domestic supplies.
Mm-hmm.
Even they does not have delivery. So for our conclusion was low, just domestic, just focusing on domestic market.
Okay, so what type of products do they carry?
Mainly the grocery and fresh foods and fresh vegetables.
Yeah,
It's not-
but the grocery items there are so many products that are actually imported from the US.
Yeah, this is information we did not have.
Mm.
So in this case, it's a global strategy, right? It's a uh, because we didn't know or we forgot actually that there are so many products being imported. So in this case, it's a
Yeah.
global strategy, but at the same time, okay, it's working for the neighborhood for very small area, right?
Yeah. Yeah. They
So
are.
it can it can go for a multi-domestic strategy.
Okay.
If I'm not wrong, okay, like they can have, if they want to expand, they can go for multi-domestic strategy, okay, like having agreements with many local vendors and open.
Okay, but it's still domestic because they are in the same country. They are
Mhm.
not multi-domestic. Multi-domestic means several countries, and they are highly responsive to this specific country.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's again, it's in the same country. However, once there are parts of the supply chain in another country, they have a global element here. So that's why even myself, I was a little bit not confused, because remember, we are just using the information we have about this company from the internet. So I was confused between the global strategy and the transnational strategy. When they started, actually, they were a global strategy because they were not responding to the market demands. They were not responsive. They carried few things, few items, but of course the integration is global because they buy uh, a lot, actually a lot of their inventory from the US. Only few items that are local. But the majority of the products, I went myself, I used their services several times. The majority of their product were from the US.
Okay.
Now they started to be very responsive to the market. For example, back in the day, they didn't have any wine. And some customers asked them for wine. So they acquired the license and now they are offering wine. Back in the day, they didn't have like creams and not cosmetics, skincare products or something like this. But again, some customers asked them if they have some organic skincare products. So they sourced this. So they became responsive to the market, but still they have the global integration because they source most of the products from the US and some products coming from Europe. Few products coming from Europe.
Mhm.
So they shifted to transnational strategy. But again, because we don't have much information, we are using the available information. But this generates interesting discussion. Well, thank you, Olena. Yes. Um, so before we leave,
Professor, I have a
yeah,
question
yes.
because I cannot get over on this.
Mhm.
I was wondering about a country that sources its product from various countries but only operates in one country. Is that global or transnational?
Again, if they are highly responsive to the local market, they are transnational. If they are not responsive to the local market, they are global.
But if
Global,
they are getting all the supplies from outside,
Yes.
as
yes,
Janine said,
yes. So they are responding to local market. So they might be transnational. Remember, that's why I always remind myself, it's a global standardization strategy. I know the matrix doesn't include the word standardization. It's how it's written in the book, but I always remind myself with this word because this is a key word here. Global standardization strategy, it means that the products are standardized and uniform, the operations are standardized and uniform, and remember Coca-Cola, right? So
but Coca-Cola is operating in several countries.
yes, but they are not responding to specific requirements of these countries. For example, they are operating in Egypt. one of the beverages that we love in Egypt is sugar cane, right? Have you ever?
That's why we like Pepsi more than Coca.
Yeah, but have you found that uh, um, Coca-Cola produced a beverage with sugar cane?
No.
No. They have a uniform or uniformed products. So they are low in local responsiveness. They don't change the product based on local preferences. Transnational, it's different. They have different flavors, for example, based on certain preferences. For example, Unilever, they produce different sizes of the same product. For a certain country, the you know, these small packets of shampoo that's good for one use.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, in some countries, these are samples. They are not sold. You get it as a sample. In some countries in Africa, these small sizes are sold for very, very cheap, and they are not produced as samples. And why is that? Because the domestic needs or the local needs, they needed something cheaper than the smallest bottle they have. So they started to produce these small packets in large quantities and actually sell this in the local market. So this is an example of local responsiveness. I changed the product characteristics to gear towards local requirements. In global strategy, we don't change the product characteristics. It's the same in all countries or all regions. In transnational, no, there are differences. There are differences in the product itself, in the service itself.
Professor, can I summarize what I understand?
Yes,
If we are getting our supply chains from different countries, we'll go to the upper quadrant.
yes,
If we customize these different products from different countries, we'll go to the right quadrant.
yes, the right upper.
And the right down. If I am locally
Oh, yeah,
getting,
yeah, yeah.
so
It's either transnational or multi-domestic.
yes, so
Okay, yes,
to set the two quadrants again, the two axes again.
yeah.
One for the supply chain, if it's only domestic or globally,
Mm-hmm,
it's down and up.
mm-hmm,
And the other thing, if you are customizing several products based on the country's need, so it's
mm-hmm.
right. If we are not, it's left.
Yes,
Okay,
yes,
understood.
yeah.
So it will be mainly globally or transnational
National.
based on the
Yes,
supply.
yes,
Okay, thank you.
yes. Okay, any question?
Yeah, but, excuse Doctor, with this summary with Mohammed Abu Ala,
Mm.
it makes me confused to some extent. He linked the globalization or the response to the globalization when we import the raw material or something from outside. But
Yes,
in some cases, we keep the international standard, but with local suppliers. Like McDonald's, for
okay.
example,
So,
I think they not
okay,
export the meat from outside. but they maintain the global and the standard of their product in anywhere in any country in the world. But it's not a must to export or import the meat of the burger from United States, for example.
Okay, that's why I said that McDonald's, for example, now they are transnational strategy. Okay, global integration. What does it mean, global integration? If we have the supply chain has 10 entities from start to end, the majority of these entities are in different countries. So I buy the raw material from country, it goes to another country to be processed, it goes to another country to be produced as raw components, and then it goes to another country to be manufactured in the final product. And the final product is either sold in the same country or sold in other countries. So when you think global integration, think of how much of the supply chain is distributed among countries and regions. When you think local responsiveness, think of the product characteristics. Are the product characteristics the same in different markets, or we change the product characteristics based on the market itself?
It's very clear now. Thank you.
Yeah. So that's why I told you today's class is very interesting, because you will find yourself thinking marketing or business. Think of
Yes.
the supply chain. Who is in the supply chain? You have from the raw material. The design could be in another country. Have you seen devices says designed in the US, manufactured in China?
Yes,
Design
Apple, for
here
example.
is an element. Design here is an element of your supply chain. And it is manufactured in
Okay.
China. It might be some parts are manufactured in China, but other parts are produced in other countries, imported to China, and then used with other components to produce the final. And also, when we say product, it's only the small the product. You think product, you think the packaging, labeling. So that's why it's very, very interesting. But I will try not to include any tricky questions, because we have some tricky questions. So I will try to include only simple questions in your exam. But you will find this discussion between you and yourself when you are working on your assignment. Most of the companies that I gave
Okay.
you, either international or multinational companies or North American companies that might be between Canada and North America. Yeah.
Professor, just
Okay.
another question.
Yeah.
Apple is considered global, the same
Who?
product everywhere, but different components.
Same product, different components.
Yeah, they produce, they import everything from outside, they manufacture it, but the same product, same strategy everywhere. So is it global or whatever?
Okay. Do they respond to local requirements?
No,
Oh,
Yeah.
they
So
have the fixed product.
yeah. So it's a global standardized strategy.
Okay.
Yes, they have multiple countries in the supply chain. That's why they have global integration. But the
Yes. So
product itself, it doesn't respond to any specific local requirements.
exactly, it's fixed all over the countries, so it's considered global strategy.
Yeah, maybe you will find a very, very tiny amount of localization when it comes to using another language, for example. Uh, uh, Also, for example, when they are responding to the legal or regulatory environment, maybe this country, for example, here in Canada, they might ask you to add if it is halal, kosher, GMO, genetically modified. Yeah, few requirements. So they will ask you to add this. If the same product is sold, for example, in the Middle East, it might not have these labels. So again, and remember here, it's low, not no. It's not no local responsiveness, it's low. So for example, 10% of the supply chain has some local responsiveness. So it's low. Yeah.
Thank you.
You are welcome. Any other question? Okay. Liazat, you had a question regarding the recordings. Unfortunately, there are 2 recordings that were corrupted. Yeah. So for these classes, you have to read the material, read it well. And if you have any question, please ask me. I will keep updating Moodle. And I will keep posting test your knowledge. This is very, very important. Every chapter, I included test your knowledge questions, so you can review it. I did not include any short answer questions, so it will be only multiple choice and false. So any question before we leave?
Yes, regarding our assignment, Professor,
Yes.
because you see that we only have a limited information because we are using the internet.
Yep.
Yeah, and I want to know if how long we stay here. Do we still have chapter 11, 12, 13 like that? Because I'm making a draft question to the person that I'm talking on my assignment, and I want to make a notes to ask to him.
No, I think based on the today's, I think you will have enough information to your assignment.
Oh, okay. So until chapter 10.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
And
So I
how
will.
if we can
Yeah.
find that information on the
How what?
internet, what shall we do? If we cannot find other relevant information regarding our assignment in the internet.
Okay, in this part, you might say my assumption based on similar companies that this company is doing XYZ, and you can also add your recommendation. So the best strategy for this company could be that they go, for example, transnational strategy and they add some adaptation, something like this. So whenever there is a gap of knowledge, include some assumptions. So
Okay.
and this is actually what we do in research, in real research. That's why always in any paper you will find that in the recommendation that we require more research because we don't have all the information. So if there is a part that you cannot capture, you can say based on the industry standards or best practices, I assume the company is doing this. However, in the literature produced by the company, you will find a lot of information. These companies are listed in the stock market, so they have publications for their website. Go to investor relationship. Go to annual reports. And I think this will benefit you because you will start reading the literature produced by the company itself and how they present their work. And of course, there will be so many financial information and not exaggeration, because they cannot exaggerate in their annual reports because they are audited. But many fancy information you might not, consider it in your day-to-day work life. So try to find these reports, and these are all publicly listed companies, so you will have lots of information. Also, press releases. So when a company, for example, open an operation center or extend its operation to a new market, do some partnership with another company, they issue a press release. So you will find these press releases also listed on the internet. And you can also email me specific questions if you have. I will list my personal email here because it's easier for me to access it. You can also add me on your LinkedIn and send me messages also on LinkedIn. I have LinkedIn on my cell phone, so I can be. And why is that? Because I will be traveling, so I might be on the go. Okay. So any other question? Okay. Thank you so much, and I will see you
Thank you.
on
Thank you.
Monday.
Thank you, Professor.
Bye bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Professor. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.